So today we're going to talk about the 7 reasons for bloating, especially when you're on a ketogenic plan, okay? Now, the first point I'm going to bring up is this hormone called insulin. And of course, when you're starting keto, usually you're going to have high insulin and it's going to go low. But I just wanted to include this because as you do keto, insulin should go down if you do it correctly and healthily, and you're going to have less of a bloated stomach. But when insulin spikes, you start developing a visceral fat. And the first thing that happens is your liver starts getting fatty and it spills over into spaces around the organs and even in other organs, okay? And mainly it's going to go right in the midsection right here. So if your belly is distended, chances are you have high insulin. Okay, also you have the top roll. So you see people with this fat roll right at the top. Okay, that's a fatty liver, but it's coming from insulin. Then you have people that have a distended stomach, just coming out like this. They could have a sagging belly. That's insulin because there's so much visceral fat deep underneath the layers that it's just sticking the stomach out. Your stomach is a really good indicator to know what's happening with insulin. If the stomach is flat, you have low insulin. If it's distended, you have higher levels of insulin. And by the way, they rarely ever check insulin. They check blood glucose levels. A good test, if you wanted to test your insulin, is called HOMA-IR. You can get that test done and find out if your insulin is high. It measures insulin resistance. Okay, if you have love handles, okay, so if you have fat on the outside or back fat, that's coming from insulin. Also realize if you're consuming a lot of fruit, that can raise your insulin. The fiber in the fruit buffers it a little bit, but still, even for myself, when I was consuming apples, my insulin level was pretty high. An apple is like 22 grams of sugar, even for a medium apple. All right, number 2, cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it's made by the adrenal glands. And what happens is that cortisol raises insulin and then causes the visceral fat. Cortisol turns protein into glucose, but cortisol will raise insulin. That is why one of the side effects of cortisol is diabetes, okay? Because it raises the blood sugar, it keeps raising insulin, you develop insulin resistance, and then you become a diabetic because you can't control your blood sugars. Because no longer is the insulin suppressing the blood sugar. So it's weakened, and then the blood sugars go up, despite your body producing a lot more insulin. Number 3, the liver. If the liver is really damaged, you could develop a condition called ascites. And what that is a situation where you have fluid that's leaking from your liver into a sac around your midsection. So you usually see this on men that are very thin, but they have this pot belly. It's like a basketball in their stomach. That's a really bad liver. And by the way, as I go through these, I'm going to list down specific videos for each one if you want to get more information about it. Okay, number 4, fiber. Now, when you're in keto, there's a lot of different fibers in keto snacks, in keto foods, gar gum, corn fiber, chicory root, inulin. There's a whole these different fibers, and a lot of people get bloating from those fibers. Also, if you're consuming certain types of vegetables that you're not used to, that can also bloat you out, in which case you need to switch up your vegetables to some vegetables that you can digest. Then we have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This is a situation where the bacteria that should be in the large intestine is in the small intestine. So you're getting fermentation in the wrong place. And so you're going to get a lot of gas, you're going to get a lot of bloating. So what you don't want to do is consume a probiotic. Why? Because you have too much bacteria in that area, or a prebiotic, which is fiber. I have an entire video on this specifically, but this condition will probably bloat you the most, especially like after eating. All right, number 6, sugar alcohols, okay? You go on a keto plan, you want to still consume sweet things, and there's all these sugar alcohols, like erythritol, xylitol. Some people are really sensitive to them. Some people don't realize when we recommend these sugar alcohols, we always recommend a small amount, not a lot. And so you consume a lot of it and you start getting bloating because your digestive system handles these differently, and it can really create gas, diarrhea, constipation. So just realize that your bloating may be coming from these right here. That's why I always recommend read the ingredients, and really in the beginning when you're doing a keto plan, track what you're eating so you can go back and find out what caused the bloating. And lastly, frequent eating will cause bloating. Now, normally the food that goes to your stomach takes between 4 to 5 hours to get through, okay? That's a long time. How often do people normally eat? Every 3 hours? This is why we recommend when you do keto to also do intermittent fasting with it, because of this right here. It takes a long time for your food to actually go through the system. And if you're constantly cramming food when there's incomplete digestion happening, you're going to bloat. And that's basically just overwhelming your digestive system. And then in the small intestine, it could take between 5 and 6 hours to get through. The large intestine could take between 10 and 40 hours, depending on what you just ate. So if you're eating every 3 hours, you're going to get bloated. And this is why we recommend going to the 2 meals a day for most people, and then some people 1 meal a day. And that's going to really help your bloating, because you will no longer be overwhelming your digestive tract with food. You'll allow it to go through, you'll get more digestion, you'll take a huge stress off the digestive organs. All right, guys, there you have it. The 7 reasons for bloating, especially on a keto plan. Hey, before you go, would you mind putting a comment down below to tell me what you think about this video?